Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the False Nine podcast. I've got the usual Charlie, Luke, and Connor. We're going to do something a bit different. Like I think yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. Ireland lost to Luxembourg, and I think that is just I think we've hit rock bottom. So we're going to talk about Ireland for today's show or episode. Yeah, like where do we even start? Like I think we'll start with the manager, Stephen Kenny, and like his squad selection. So just basically, I want to know like. First off, I'll go to Charlie first. Do you think Stephen Kenny is the right man, even if you think like it's the player's fault? Do you think he's the right man? And is there anything you would switch from like? Actually, just first, if he's the right man or not, because I don't want to like rant on for ages. But do you think he's the right man? Like just full stop.
Well, going off by the present results, obviously everyone would say he's not the right man, but I do actually think we should we should give him to the end of the campaign and see what he can do. I don't think there's any point in changing the manager because like we're not qualifying anyway. Let's be honest, we're out now, so we may as well see if he can get us playing. I think he's definitely trying to get us playing a more attractive style than the likes of O'Neill, McCarthy, and Trapattoni. But obviously, it's a results game, so the results haven't been there.
Yeah.
He's obviously trying to implement this back three. Well, he's started using it this break. He didn't really use it before.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really worked. I would question the selection of the back three, to be honest. Like the personnel, I'm not sure what. Like, okay, Duffy, he hasn't had the greatest season with Celtic, but he's our main goal threat. Like, and that's the harsh reality. He's our main goal threat from corners
That's
and from free kick. That it is embarrassing, but that's the quality of our attacking players. I would say Duffy would have to be in the team. I would say just for his aerial ability,
Yeah.
because he's. I remember him scoring two or three really important goals for us, and we were whipping in corners and crosses the other day when we needed a goal, and there was just no one in there to head them. I don't think that guy Collins is a serious footballer, even though we got us a goal. I think
Yeah.
he's immobile. He doesn't get around the
He's
pitch. Okay,
awful.
he might try his heart out. That's fair enough. But should we be looking at a higher caliber player than the likes of people who just run around? It's like United and the McFred thing. Yeah, they'll run around, but they're not good players. Like, and I think we really need to look at producing higher level players if we want to be serious, because there's people are coming through, but when they're playing the likes of the forwards, Ida, Parrott, they haven't looked good enough yet, and it's not their fault. They haven't played for a club yet, for a
Especially Ida.
consistent. They're playing more for their country than they're playing for their
Yeah.
actual club. So you can't expect these young lads to do much when they come in. So I think we need to get a band of experienced players together. Obviously, we lost like so Walters, O'Shea, Whelan. So there's not many like characters in the dressing room. It's only really Coleman and maybe Duffy, but he's not in the starting 11. So I think certain players need to step up. The likes of obviously Howrahan couldn't play, but he needs to step up and lead a few of the younger lads.
I agree
I,
with
I
Harry.
would say Brady needs to step up and
Yeah.
start putting in better performances. And I think Matt Doherty needs to take a look at himself as well. He's had a shocking season at Spurs, and he's come into the Ireland setup, and he's looked really poor. Him and Stevens, they were a laughing stock against Luxembourg. Couldn't keep string any passes together. Their crosses into the box were woeful, and their
Yeah.
defending is just all around terrible. So I think there's a lot that has to be done.
I think we'll go to like the bigger picture of like producing talent, but in terms of just team selection, like you look at that system, and like that's like a lot of that has to do with like with Doherty and like Stevens as well. Like they've played wing back for club, and they're not producing. Like that is such a bad sign. I think like you look at Collins, like there's no way we don't have better strikers now. I refuse to believe we don't have better strikers than he is shit. Like he is. I'm shocked he's professional. I am absolutely astonished. When I saw him play, I was like, "There's no way." Like he wouldn't look at a place Sunday league. I'm not even joking. He wouldn't look at a place. He genuinely would not look at a place. He'd be a big striker that would probably bag a lot of goals. But like he genuinely would not look at a place. He can't move. he's not even that good in the air. Like, he's tall. He's not even that good in the air. Like, and I know I've slagged McGoldrick a lot, right? Fuck, people are saying, oh yeah, bring McGoldrick back, at least he's a golfer. Fuck him. Nah, seriously. I don't, like, this is the problem we have, right? I don't want to rant, but like, there's like, oh yeah, just we need to bring like, or put the experienced players in, or like the players have been there for a bit. Like, most of them are shit anyway. I think what you said about Stephen Kenny and the system and his team selection, I don't think the players he's picked are bad, but the system he's trying to play is too complex, and you actually need technically give the footballers to play it. And I know Jack Byrne for Shamrock Rovers, he's injured, but like he's one of the only players that actually suit that system because he's a technically good player. But like, we do, like, this is the problem. When we were kids, yeah, like, be honest, in any sport, when we were kids, when we were in any trials, I'm not saying any of us should be playing for Ireland before anyone starts fucking crying, right? What I'm saying is that they always pick the big and strong lads, the fast lads, that were not that good at football. And look what's happened. We got Malumbi playing. Who the fuck is he? Like, not Malumbi, sorry, Brown. Alan Brown. Alan Brown starts for us. He's like Fellaini. Actually, that's disrespectful to Fellaini. He's just shit. Like, he's just a bad football. Like, he's like, this is shocking. Like, at least I remember people used to slag Glenn Whelan and they used to slag James McCarthy. They are leveled above these players. That's how bad they are. Connor, I'll move on to you. Like, in terms of like the kind of, well, actually, I'm more focused on the players, right? In terms of the players, like, how are these players like not beating Luxembourg? Because like, I don't care what, like, we talk about system, but any system you put out, like, they should literally be blowing these away. Like, these are championship or premiership footballers against Luxembourg.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, like, Ireland should be beating Luxembourg comfortably, but I mean, if you look at it, it's just the fact that, like, we're used to players like playing for Man United, playing for Liverpool, playing for top clubs. I can't think of one player on the Irish team now that I could say, oh, he's like an international star. There's no one there anymore. And most of the players are championship players or Premier League players for the bottom clubs, and a lot of them are just, I feel like it doesn't matter who he picks, every week it's the same story. It's just they either just try and hoof it along and it ends up being a boring game, 0-0, or they try and play good football like they tried to against Luxembourg, but then the defense let them down and there's nothing up front at all. I mean, I'd like to see someone like Connolly up front. I think he's injured at the moment, is he?
He has been playing, but he's been playing shit. But it's not his fault.
Yeah, but
like,
even still, I'd rather him up front than Collins. Just like he gives something different. He tries up front, but it stems back to the grassroots. Like, they need to be getting people in from a younger age. The system in Ireland at the moment, it's sort of as you said, they just pick like big and strong people, and they're not going to develop anymore. Whereas if you pick someone that actually has ability, they can develop into a good footballer. But the FAI just seem to not be able to do it. It's almost a bit corrupt as well, the way they sort of people get onto the underage teams in Ireland and then they go through to play senior football and they're just not able for it.
Yeah, no, well, I want to actually go in depth into like kind of that whole thing with the FAR, the bigger picture, like why it's gone to this point. But like, just before we move on, Luke, these players, right, like, these players obviously, like, not long ago they were kind of performing under Mick McCarthy. Like, we had a good start to the qualifying. We weren't conceding a lot. Yeah, it was ugly, but we were at least scoring a goal a game, or at least we were winning games or drawing games even at this point. Do you think like a more pragmatic kind of style would suit us more? Like, of course it's boring, and of course no one likes it, but like, we don't have the players to play the way Stephen Kenny wants to play.
I think it's an interesting question, because if you go back to like the style Mick McCarthy and all used to play, I think there was a lot of anger from the Irish population saying they want better football than this, and it's boring and it's just long ball. And now when Stephen Kenny's given us that, it seems that a lot of people have suddenly reversed their opinion and seemingly seen the light that we don't have the players to play that way. But sometimes it just shows you got to be careful what you wish for. I mean, they were
Yeah.
all asking for this better football, and it's been given to them, but the results haven't been there. I don't think. I think in any other era, Kenny would have actually had the players to play the way he wants to play. But in this era, I think it's one of the worst states Irish football has ever been in.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the older players or the younger players. I'm talking about the 25 to 30-year-old players, the Brady, the Hendricks, the McClean. I think they've got to be up there with one of the worst generations of Irish players I've ever seen. I mean, none of them are even getting into the team against
Yeah.
the likes of Malumbi, who isn't
Oh,
even getting a game for Brighton. Like it's
it's
an
shocking.
embarrassment. I
It
mean,
really is shocking.
the likes of Hendricks needs to hang their head in shame because
He's not serious.
he's
not
he's
serious.
an absolute joke. Like he came on the other day when we were drawing the game, and then next thing, a 20-minute spell when he comes onto the pitch, we lose the game. Like he's just not serious.
He's actually not. Look, this is the funny thing. Like Hendrick, don't grow. I thought Hendrick was a good servant to us from 2015 or 2014 to 2018. Like he was good. Like he scored goals. He had good highlights. But like ever since then, he's just shocking. He's really bad. No, he's really bad. And like Martin O'Neill's team, I don't necessarily think we play bad football, but I think that team would definitely suit the style of play. Like Brady was playing well. Wes Houlihan was starting. Like also with Brady, I can't different. He has had bad injuries, doesn't really get looking. I actually do think there's something we have someone there that can help us. McClean, if he's capped one more time, yeah, whoever's picked up should be sacked immediately. What does he bring? What's he bring? I'm telling you right now, yeah, the only reason why he plays for us and he was picked is because he hates the Queen and hates the Poppy. I am 100%, I can guarantee it. What he can't do anything. He can't. He gets the ball at his feet. He looks down, yeah, drives down the line, yeah, does a little chink inside, chinks out, whips the worst cross ever. Man, I could do that. I'm shit. I'm so bad at football, but I can do that if I wanted to. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, he is so bad. Hendrick again, like, I can't believe Newcastle even bought him for that much. Like, ridiculous. You saw him at Newcastle season, he's been shit from Newcastle. But yeah, no, like, I think I don't really blame the strikers that much. Like, they don't get much. Like, Callum Robinson, like, I don't think he's the greatest player. But at least, like, him and Connolly, like, the amount of work they put in up front and they get no service. I honestly would consider quitting. Like, there's no point running around that much if you don't get the service. I think the centre backs, like, we're fairly, like, remember John Egan's injured, I think. Like, he's good. O'Shea guy's good. Clark's decent. Duffy's he's not in great form. Like, I think we've good like in terms of defenders. But now before I move on to the kind of FAI bigger picture sort of thing, should we stop picking these players, i.e. force them into retire? I'm talking about McClean, Hendrick, maybe even Brady. Who else? Maybe even Duffy if he doesn't think he's good enough. Who else? There's a few other shit players. Anyway, like the older players, like the kind of older that were there like since Martin O'Neill. Like, should we consider moving them on and like start to blood in more younger players? Like I'd love to see Ida play. I know there's a few other talented players in the younger league that are declaring for Ireland. I don't know, I forget their names. And like the kind of even the under 21s, like start bringing a bunch of them up because there is definitely talent in that under 21s team. And like if you fielded an under 21s team against Luxembourg, they're not going to do much worse than that. Like against they're honestly, I could fancy the under 21s team being better than our senior team, 100%. But yeah, what do you think, Charlie? Should we like bring in younger players and then not force people to retire, but kind of ease them out?
I don't think that would be the smartest thing to do because if you just bring in a whole team of youth, they're not going to have the international experience to like see games out or put in good performances every week. I think it's always important you have like a mix of experience and
Well, that's why you
And
keep Coleman.
yeah, and you put. I think it will pan out that way because obviously we're not going to the Euros, we're not going to the World Cup. So that means I would say we'll get a mass of players retiring now because that was their last chance to go to a major tournament, and they're not going to stick around to play international friendlies and the like and just waste their energy when they could be focusing on their club football. So I do think we'll see a lot of retirement in the near future. I also think like Kenny, he probably will end up getting the sack at some point, just because
He's not serious.
we're playing Portugal. Like we're probably gonna get hammered by them. We're not
God.
gonna beat Serbia at home. So Luxembourg, it is the next time we play Luxembourg, we're gonna have to be looking at putting in a much better performance and beating them comfortably to show that he's worthy of the job. I think with McCarthy, he was kind of lucky because the first few of his fixtures, like I think we played Gibraltar twice, and he got a few wins. Like it was only a 1-0 win against Gibraltar. That's how poor it was. Like I think Hendrick actually scored a goal, which is a miracle. So like we can say the other managers were doing better than Kenny, but like I would back Kenny to beat Gibraltar if we're being honest. Like they're one of the worst nations in the world.
No, they're bad. They're bad. Like, but I think the thing is that I didn't like is the fact that McCarthy wasn't given the playoff against Finland. Like, I just didn't understand that. Like, give McCarthy the playoff against Finland, and then you can sack it. But my opinion, I think what should happen is we should use the rest of these World Cup games. We're not going to qualify to bring in a new manager. Just hear me out. Bring in a new manager and let him pick from the younger players, the older players, who he wants to keep. So we're actually ready come the Euro qualifiers and we actually can get to a tournament. Because I think Kenny will stay in the job. We'll do shit in the World Cup qualifiers. They'll give him the Euros and we'll buff it because we'll find out that he's actually a League of Ireland manager and not an international level manager. You saw him in the interviews. I kind of feel bad for him. It's like he got asked, "Are you worried?" And he asked, "About what?" What the fuck, man? Seriously. He was asked, "Are you worried?" And he stopped there for a second and went, "About what?" Your fucking job, man. You haven't won a game in like 10. Like, you're shit. You're a very bad manager. You're a bad manager. Like, no, you are. Like, I understand it's not all his fault. I think most of it's down to the players. But he is a League of Ireland manager. League of Ireland. One of the worst leagues in Europe.
To be fair though, I sort of feel a bit sorry for the lad.
I do.
If you look at the way he's playing, like Coleman right centre back, Doherty right wing back, Stevens left wing back. I mean, if you were looking at ways to fit Coleman and Doherty in, that would probably be the way we'd all go with. 100%. So he's playing the right way in that regard. But like, you have to look at the players sometimes. I mean, Doherty and Stevens last season in the Premier League, I think it's fair to say they were two of the best fullbacks in the league last season, and now this season they've just gone to utter shit. I mean, they've got to be looking at their performances and asking themselves why they've gone so poorly.
No, I agree.
I think the passing style of play, yeah, maybe you could look at that and maybe go slightly more direct. But in terms of the way he's setting up, I wouldn't see much problem with that. And it's not really his fault that there's so little creativity and quality in the forward area.
I think, no, you're right. Like, the players are clearly not right to play this way. But what I would say is I don't agree with some of his. I don't see how Alan Brown like is good enough for passing around. Like, he is literally, you're playing with 10 men when he's on the pitch. Like, he doesn't. I know he scored. Mate, I got on the end of that cross. Fucking hell. Just be tall. The defender was shit against Serbia, so it doesn't count. Anyways, I think my thing with Kenny is, right, it's not all about the system. If you can't motivate your players, right, and you can't kind of galvanize your players to beat Luxembourg, like, that's a worry. Because even if you're not playing well and the confidence is low, how are you not, like, at least kind of giving the players a kick up the hole they need at halftime or whatever to get one goal against one of the lowest ranked nations in the world? Actually, no, in Europe probably. But, like, I just don't think that's a good sign. It's not all his fault, but I want to move on to the kind of bigger picture of it, right? which we all touched on at some point. Clearly, the system that we have in place has failed miserably, right? I'm not going to speak too long, and so once you guys have it chip in as well. I think one of the big things that I've kind of been thinking about the past few days is how players are kind of like brought into the youth system and how the style of player and the type of player. It's clear from the very start that these scouts that they have, are picking the wrong players at youth level, right? We're not claiming, like people are, we're not claiming we'd ever be good enough, right? I'm just saying there's players that like even like kind of counter draws and stuff like that. I'd be looking like, how the fuck is he not in? Or like, how is he not getting on that team? And it was always seemed to be kind of like the big and strong players, the fast players, and a lot of like young, good, talented technical players were left out. And you saw that any level, like it's so obvious. You can see it right across the board. And also, I feel like if you're not spotted from young from an English team, or you're not playing with the big Dublin teams like Kevin's, St. Joseph's, what's the other one? Home Farm? Yeah, Home Farm, and there's probably another one. But like if you're not playing with them, I feel like you just don't get a look in. And that's why you see so many kids up in the country trying to get there, because that's the only way they have a chance of getting out. Like, and also just last before we move on to you lads, the school system. If you go through any ex-England player or England player, a lot of them have been actually found from playing for their school. And like school competitions is non-existent in Ireland. Not enough money's going into it. No one's arsed really going to play. Like you saw in our school, lads weren't arsed playing. Like it was like, oh, what's the point? Like I'm not arsed. It's a shitty tournament anyway. Like I'd rather just stay in school and not have to fucking go. Like we should really invest most of our money in getting kids to play in school. Not necessarily for a club, because that costs a lot of money. Parents can't really travel, like they can't afford to travel places and stuff like that. Honestly, we should invest as much money as we can into schools, get school teams, get a strong school team competition. Like for example, the rugby, like Leinster Senior Cup. Should be like that. We should get crowds to games, should be properly done. And you will find talent there, 100%. Like you will 100% find talent there. You'll find more talent than you're getting there. And it's just really these simple things that are just so worrying. Obviously, we have a corrupt prick in charge who left his job, got moved to an executive position, and he doesn't do anything when he still runs it. He's a gobshot, but like obviously we need to get him in, and then it'll hopefully change. But Charlie, what are your thoughts on that as well? Like the bigger kind of picture of it now, where like it clearly this recruitment level or this scouting kind of system has not worked at all.
You're making the point about schools. I think there is a problem in that, because we all know the Irish teachers are a bunch of jokers, if we're being honest. Like in terms of work they're willing to do, they're not willing to put themselves at risk to teach students during the virus, even though there's people on the front line, like doctors and all, risking their lives every day, when there's little or no risk to teachers at some point, and they weren't willing to do that. So you would look at have to getting like a coaching sector into a school rather than ask the teachers to do it, because you can't rely on them for anything. But that is possible, to be fair. Like it's easily done. I think also you made the point about the type of player the scouts seem to be picking. I think like they seem to just pick the loudest players. If you're on the pitch and you're talking to people and telling them what to do, you could be the shittest player on that pitch, but if you're the loudest, that seems to be what they want. And it's led to a team of passion merchants who can't play football. That's what it's led to. If you look at our midfield,
Charlie, we need you, man.
No, but in all serious, like you can hear everyone on the pitch is shouting at one another at the midfield. It's like, yes, Pat. But when they get the ball themselves, they're telling people what to do. And like, could you do that yourself, mate? Like, could you pass the ball? Could you keep the ball? Could you look for the ball? Could you turn out on the ball and actually provide us with something? And the answer is no. So you can be the loudest, you can be the strongest, but are you the best with the ball at your feet? No. And that's what it's led to. We don't have any actual footballers who are good at playing balls through the lines, playing crosses into the box, playing balls up to the striker. We just have a team of people who love to run around and love to play for the badge, but they don't have anything else going for them.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, like the players that haven't picked the younger age, of course they deserved it. But like, I felt like a lot of the technical players, like, where are they now? Like, I remember even when I was younger, you see technical players get shots like, oh my God, I can't wait till he's older. Can't wait till he's in our team. He's class. And like, they're not even at youth levels. Like, where the fuck is these lads gone? And you touched on as well. Like, obviously, I don't blame teachers for not doing it because like they're doing it for free and stuff like that. But I think like schools, even our school, like who was a public school, they don't make a lot of money. They're able to employ coaches to come in. And also, I feel like the attitude towards soccer in this country is appalling. It's so bad. It's so bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand Gaelic's our national sport. I love the fact that we're unique in that way. But the attitude's so shit. It's like, oh, you play soccer, do you? Soft. I remember like that as a kid. You were told that like, oh, soccer's for softies. They just go, they jump around. Like, fuck off, man. Like, seriously. Like, in our school, for example, I don't want to call out our school, right? I don't want to call out our school. But we were better in football than we are rugby. It's facts. It's facts. And we spent quadruple the money on it, which was stupid. It happens in so many schools in the country. Same with GA as well. Like, the attitude towards football is poor. And then, but Luke, I want to ask you this, yeah? In terms of like the structure of the FAI in general, like, you probably don't know many names in there. Like, it's John Delaney's the main one. Like, what do you think needs to happen in the FAI? Like, do you think it should be a thing where the government needs to intervene and sort that place out? Because that place is so corrupt, ridiculously corrupt.
I think they need to just set up a new football association from top to bottom, if we're being honest. I mean, like the corruption in there, it's not good. And I would say the corruption, there's a wider pattern. I mean, in the lower leagues of football, even some of the teams I was involved with, there was serious, I think it's called nepotism, I could be wrong, where managers were just employed to just get their son on the team basically and play him week in, week out, and get him into the League of Ireland structure and get him starting every week, when in reality they weren't good enough. I mean, a lot of players have been left out due to just other players getting picked ahead of them due to ties they have with people in the club or them being the manager of the team. And a lot of players get screwed over at youth level and never actually get the chance to play at a higher level due to some coaches who are just employed for their own self-benefit, really. So I think there's a wider pattern of corruption throughout the whole sport in Ireland. And handing the League of Ireland, that league needs to be scrapped, I think. I mean, it's just, I'm not saying have no league, but like start another one. I mean, there's just no quality in it whatsoever. The clubs are focused on paying their actual like full-time players instead of actually bringing players through the development system, so players don't improve at a younger age and they don't become good enough to actually play football at like a really high level. So a lot of changes need to be made, because like losing to Luxembourg, I mean, it's not good enough. What are they, like 95th in the world? Like, I would argue we should be able to field 3 or 4 teams that should be able to beat Luxembourg, 100%. And we're not even able to field one. Like, I think it's just not, it's embarrassing, really. I mean, a lot of people have labeled it embarrassing. Even Coleman has come out, but it is really embarrassing. Like, it's just,
it's the only
pathetic,
word.
Really. But I think when there's sports like GAA, like our national sport, I think the government will always be inclined to put more investment into that. I think a lot more people want to play GAA because it's their national sport and they want to be representing their county. But there needs to be a lot more investment into football, because like we can't be losing to Luxembourg. It's just not on. It's not good enough.
Yeah. Just for I want to move on to kind of there. I want to pick up the nepotism thing. Like, how many times like have you as a kid, you're like talking to someone who's very good at football, it's like, why has that not worked out? Why aren't you on that team anymore? It's like they fell out with the coach. And it's always something to do with nepotism. Like, he picked me ahead of him because he's his son. And like, it is ridiculous. And you're spot on. It's from top to bottom. It's nearly like it's nearly impossible to fix unless you do something ridiculous, and there's a lot of money pumped into it. But Connor, just before we finish up, I just want your thoughts on it now. Like, what now do we do in terms of Ireland from top to bottom? It can be anything to change the manager. What do you think? Like, what can we do now?
I thought what I think was Luke was saying there, like to completely restructure the whole FAI, like just set some new association up. And in terms of the World Cup qualifiers, I think we are like we don't have a chance of qualifying now. And even if we did, it'd be a bit embarrassing going to the World Cup and not even scoring a goal at it.
Yeah.
So like I think he should use these matches, especially like the likes of Luxembourg and Serbia. Like I know Serbia are a lot better, but like I don't see why he can't just play like a young team with the likes of people in there like Coleman who will actually put in a performance and will actually play for the country. And people like possibly Duffy there for experience and
Yeah.
just play the youth players and see how they get on and develop them. Because like what's the point in playing the likes of McClean and Hendrick if they're not going to be here anymore
Yeah. I agree.
for the
That's
next
what,
cycle?
yeah, I think that I completely agree with. Like, I think we should use the World Cup players, World Cup qualifiers to give the younger lads experience. 100%. It makes so much sense, and
Well,
they'll be
not
better
even
for it.
experience, but to find what
Yeah,
the future like
exactly.
the team for the future
Yeah,
instead of just like I
because
mean they can't really do any worse than the current team, can they?
exactly, and a lot of them will have to play the European qualifiers, but they'll be old enough and eligible for it. So I don't really see a problem with that. But just we have a couple minutes left here, so just before I finish up, like obviously, I think a lot of this is to do with the money, and a lot of it has to do with pumping money in the right areas. Sport Ireland obviously do a fantastic job. I'm not saying they don't, but I do think that we really need to invest in grassroots levels. I'm not saying on the level the UK did, but we really need to invest at grassroots levels, set up better facilities around the country, help out clubs and invest in maybe like more scouts and stuff like that. And you will definitely find talent. Like there is money there. Like I'm like, what about the 4 million that we got off FIFA should be still there to after France cheated us in the World Cup. So hopefully Delaney didn't spend it on a yacht or anything. So I think there's money there. It has to be invested in the right areas. But as you've all touched on, top to bottom, or bottom to top, really, it needs to be fixed. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to happen in the near future, and we could be stuck with teams like this. But hopefully, the young lads coming up are decent, and they look half decent. So, yeah, just on that, thanks everyone for watching. It got passionate. I don't mean to call out my old school. I love all these back there, but it was what I said was facts. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks lads again, and yeah, subscribe, send to all your mates and all that, and thanks.